Thank you for your patience. I live in Grapevine, and my last appointment this afternoon arrived 30 minutes late, and then the toll road was closed. But you know what? I'm an overcomer. So I'm proud of you guys for being here, and I'm here, and we're going to be great together. So hold on, I'm going to get a stool to sit on. And if you guys would like to move kind of towards the inside and maybe even up to the front, I promise I will not spit on you. That'll make us kind of all right here in the middle. Thank you. I appreciate that. That'll be wonderful. And when your wife gets here, you guys are going to be fine.
Okay.
There. All right. Good. Thanks. Now, if you or someone close to you has been affected by cancer, I want you to sit. And I have to sit. Well, wow. That got all of us. Oh my goodness, that's the first time that's happened to me. Do you know that right now, 1 in 3 Americans will experience cancer in their lifetime? Did y'all know that? Did anybody know that? Is that outrageous? That just makes me crazy fighting mad, because it doesn't happen in other countries. And I think we should have excellent health in our country. Don't you think we should have excellent health? I believe that was God's plan for us, is excellent health. So I am here tonight because one of my kids got sick when he was in high school. You know how when you're a kid and you think, when I grow up, I want to be fill in the blank, right? This was the farthest thing from my mind. But what will you not do for your children? How many of you have children? Got it. I grew up on a ranch. Has any of you ever seen a Mad Mama cow? Anybody? Yeah, I can tell by looking at people's face. I can tell if they have. And I was like that Mad Mama cow, fighting to save my child. He was in high school, and he came to us and told us he felt depressed. And I thought depression was an emotional problem. And I couldn't figure out why he would feel that way. Does any of you know someone close to you who has struggled with depression? Anyone? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is so common these days. More than half of Americans are on some kind of medication for anxiety or depression. So he came to us and told us that, and where do we go? Where did we take him?
Psychiatrist.
Yes, we took him to the doctor. We did take him to a counselor. But we took him to the doctor, and what did the doctor do? Gave us medication. And he felt a little better. And we went back the next month, and what happened? More medication, and he felt a little better. The whole time, I'm like this Mad Mama cow, going screaming. Our chiropractor was our primary care physician. At that moment, I'm sure he regretted it, because I was so crazy. One day, I took his face in my hand, and I said, why? Why is this happening? And can the doctor answer that? Is that their job? That's not their job. Their tools, they have 2 tools, medication or surgery. And if you want to get a different result than that, where do you need to go? Someplace different, someplace else. Exactly, because that is his job. That's what he has to do. So in the meantime, our chiropractor had been studying cellular toxicity, lead, mercury, Lyme parasites, mold, things like that. And we did a test for our son, one that I'm going to show you later tonight. And it told us for sure one of the problems was biotoxins, and mold is the most common biotoxin. So we hired a mold specialist. He came to our home. He showed us where the mold is. We got rid of it. Do you know someone who specializes in detoxing that toxin from the body? Anybody? No, I didn't either. Do you know someone who specializes in safe mercury and lead detoxification? I didn't either. So I had to start a new job. You know, I was in my late 40s. Go back to school, learn to do this. Because at that point, see, I saved my children. What I learned was I was able to save my health and my husband's health. So at that point, I had a choice. I could save it for myself and just keep on my merry way, or I could what else? I could share it with you. So that's what I've been doing for more than 10 years now. We get phenomenal results with our clients. What we do is completely different from anything that you've seen before. It is cellular detoxification. So if I could show you a way so that you could live with confidence in your health the rest of your life and feel strong in your body, free from the distraction of disease, would you want to at least hear about it?
Yes.
Right? Yeah, of course, right? Now I'm going to ask you a lot of crazy questions like that tonight because this is a thyroid talk, and at the end of the day, how do most of us feel? What kind of energy do we have? We're tired. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions to keep you awake. Okay, I did have one person one time who fell asleep in my talk. So I'm going to keep you awake. But also, think about this. Did you, tonight, by the end of the night, you are going to hear things you've never heard before, I promise you. And yet, when does that knowledge have the power to transform your life? Yes, right now, when you what? When you just know it? Or when you what? When you act on it. Exactly. And what I want for you tonight is not just knowledge. I don't want you to just go home smarter, because that doesn't change your life. I want transformation in your life. That's my desire for you tonight. So at the end of the night, I'm going to make you an offer so that you can move forward with us, so that I can teach you how to implement the knowledge that you're going to get tonight. Is that fair? Is that okay with everybody? I'll just offer that to you. In the meantime, you're going to learn a lot. Okay? All right. So what I want us to start with then, thank you for those of you who are arriving. Thanks for coming.
Was this just for women?
No.
Okay, I made you come, sorry.
She and I did not practice it. He already asked me that. I do have clients who are men, yes. Most of my clients are women, but I do have clients who are men. Both. In fact, I have clients all over the world. Alaska, Indonesia, Ukraine. My specialty is cellular detoxification and cellular healing, which is very unique. So my knowledge is very narrow and very deep. I receive very advanced, specific training. I'm part of a nationwide network of practitioners from across the country. There are hundreds of us, of all kinds of practitioners, NDs, MDs, dentists, acupuncture, all kinds of practitioners. And many of the people in our group focus on research. Because when did you last hear about cellular toxicity? Anybody? Anybody heard of that before? Now 10 years ago, nobody had heard of that. But how many of you have heard of autoimmune?
I've heard of it.
Yes, good. 10 years ago, nobody had heard of autoimmune either. So we do a lot of research looking for the best ways to help our clients heal as fast as possible. And we have clinical experience from the hundreds of practitioners, so it's not just me that you're working with. It's that whole range of people behind me, so they're doing it all together. So tell me, when you saw the ad for the talk tonight, what made you want to come? Why are you here?
I just got diagnosed with low functioning thyroid.
Got it. And are you on medication?
I've been for 2 weeks now.
Okay, very good. How many of you are on medication for thyroid? Okay, well, it's like you separated the room. Okay. How many of you have been to your doctor and you said, I have all these symptoms that look like thyroid, and he does a blood test and he says you're normal? How many of that? Yes. So you know what? It's funny. That happens almost every time. Half of the room is on medication, and still, how long have you been on medication?
Gosh, 5 years.
A long time. Yeah, and yet you still have symptoms, or you wouldn't be here, right?
I had dramatic weight gain.
Before you started taking the medication, how does that make you feel?
Depressed.
Yes, I would be depressed. I think that's a normal, logical feeling when you start gaining weight. And I assume that you've tried diet and exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That people are like, yeah. And
yeah,
yet,
I have cut my calories almost in half. I have walked for an hour daily, and I mean, nothing really happens on the scale. It made me, I maybe age too, but years ago I could do that.
and in other countries, they don't get heavier as they get older. That's very unique to America. In other countries, they stay active their whole life and they get leaner as they get older.
But I gained like 40 to 50 pounds in a year.
Wow. And you didn't eat that many donuts.
And I
There's no
didn't
way. No.
About my diet.
Right. That is crazy frustrating. So what that tells us is there's more to it than diet and exercise, right? And by the end of the
That's what
night,
I think.
You're going to understand. You're going to understand what went wrong, and how will that feel to finally know what's wrong. Yeah, exactly. When we have a problem and we find the cause, that's empowering, isn't it? Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. So how about autoimmune? Has anyone been diagnosed with any kind of autoimmune condition? No. Okay, 10 years
My
ago?
husband was Lyme disease.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to get him to come in here instead of trying to find
That would be wonderful for him to come in. I'll tell you just, since you said that, I'll tell you a teeny piece of our story. So our oldest son had depression. Our middle son had chronic fatigue. Our daughter was sick all the time. She got the excessive absence letter from school every year. And so when we started doing this, cellular detox and healing, we were all getting better and better and better and better. Now I believe 100% God designed the body to heal when we remove the interference. Do you believe that? Do you believe you can heal? Of course you do, or you wouldn't be here, right? You would have given up by now. So I believe God designed the body to heal. So she had been getting better and better and better, and then she started getting worse and worse and worse. Now knowing that I believe that God designed the body to heal when we remove the interference, what do you think I was thinking when she started getting worse? Exactly. I thought, we're missing something. We had gotten rid of the mold in our house. My husband, my poor husband, I told him, you have to go look in the other bathroom and think, there must be mold. There is something going on here because she's getting worse now. And he said, I've already done that. But he went to the other bathroom, started taking the tiles off the wall. He was right, there was no mold in that bathroom. So we had done mold. We had done heavy metals detox. Lyme was the only thing left for me to test. And about 5 to 7 years ago, they came up with a new Lyme test that's very accurate. Before that, they were completely inaccurate. There was a 1 week period of time, 2 weeks after you got stung by the tick, that test would work. Well, at that point, you don't even know. You don't have symptoms yet. So there was a new test, and she was positive. So then I tested everybody else in our home. All 5 of us had Lyme. So I understand how you feel. Oh, good. Thank you for coming. I was just sharing. She told me that you've been diagnosed with Lyme, so I was sharing a little bit about that. We have had victory over that in our family and with my clients every time. Every single one of our clients gets better. Every single time. And I know
cured Lyme disease?
Yes. And I know that saying that everybody gets better, I know that's really bold. I'm really picky about who I accept and in which cases I will work with. Because our program is challenging. And if I just accepted everybody and someone had a little bit of commitment and I asked them to do something really hard, what might they do? They might not do it, right? So then what kind of results are they going to get? They're not going to get results. And my desire is results. That's all I'm focused on. This is not a business for me. This is my passion. So I'm very selective who I agree to coach. I will work with people who are completely committed to do whatever it takes. People who know. In fact, let me ask it this way. What part of your life does your health affect?
All.
Exactly. All of it. It affects your family, right? And your work, and your pleasure in life, right? It affects everything. Therefore, what is your greatest asset? Your health, 100%. When I when I became a practitioner, I had 8 mercury fillings. Now, when we were kids and the thermometer broke, what did Mother say? Don't touch it! We knew mercury was toxic, and yet they put it in our teeth. It is toxic in your teeth. However, please do not just go to the dentist tomorrow if you have fillings. Don't just go get them removed. There's a right way and a wrong way because mercury is extremely toxic. I had 8 metal fillings, and I was learning those things were killing me. My grandmother had Alzheimer's. My dad had Parkinson's. I didn't want either of those, and toxic metals cause those. And my husband was unemployed at the time, and I was going back to school. Just like everything was stacked against us. So I took one of my little 401ks and I cashed it in to get that poison out of my mouth, because I would rather be healthy when I retire than have that little bit of money when I retire. Because how much does it cost to be sick? It's outrageous, isn't it? So that's a little bit about me. and why I'm here and how I got here. Would you like to come up? I promise I won't spit. Yeah, and see, you're not the only man here. He is
That's
so,
exactly what happened. I saw it. I was like,
You're like, no, I don't want to go in there. I told him that you have to be a really strong man to come into this room tonight. So I'm proud of you guys for being here. Super excited to be here. So, yes.
A quick question. Back to the mold and so the stuff in your house. So you're saying all that stuff got airborne?
Yes, thank you for
Okay.
asking. The mold is toxic to everyone all the time. You go back to Leviticus, and God tells us what to do about mold when it's in the house. It's toxic to everyone all the time. Everyone in a house might have different symptoms. You look almost exactly like my mentor, the doctor who teaches us. So if I stare at you, that's why. I promise I'm not, trying to interfere there. So mold in the house that's toxic is usually hidden in the wall or under the flooring. I mean, whose idea was it to put vinyl flooring or carpet in a bathroom? I mean, really, yet how many of us have lived in a house like that? All of us, right? So the floor gets wet and the water gets under the vinyl and the carpet, and it can grow mold because this is a humid place. If you lived in Las Vegas, maybe not, except in your bathroom, it gets wet every day. So the mold is something you cannot see, you cannot smell. My family calls me a bloodhound. They're like, Mom, you smell everything. And they finally have started believing because I keep proving to them that it really was there, whatever I was smelling. Now they believe me, but I never smelled it and I never saw it. So thank you for asking that, and I'll talk more about toxins in a minute. So thank you for sharing why you're here. Would someone else share, why are you here tonight? You saw that ad with all those symptoms. Thank you.
Because I'm interested in the detoxing.
Yes,
I want to
great.
know how to do it.
Okay, excellent. Detox is very unique to every person because every one of us has been exposed to different things. And tell me another word for toxin. What's a synonym? Poison, exactly. You will see that the questions I ask are really simple. They are kind of no-brainers, so you just say whatever comes to mind. You're right. I'm not going to ask any tricky questions. Toxins are poison. So in order to safely detox, you have to do it carefully with the help of a practitioner one-on-one in a custom coaching program is the best way to detox. So thank you for sharing. Someone else, looking at those symptoms, what brought you here tonight?
I have brittle nails that used to be fantastic, and they just
How does that make you
apart.
feel?
Well, bad. And,
Yeah.
And they're sharp on the corners, and I cut my students sometimes.
Oh, yeah, that's hard.
They're terrible.
Mhm. And it's a little
I
bit
can hide them.
embarrassing.
It's a little embarrassing. Yeah, they look terrible. I can hide them,
Yes?
and 2 days after manicure, everything starts falling off. And
And how frustrating is that, right?
I've seen a doctor, and they take some biotin.
Exactly.
Which actually did help for a little while.
Yes, exactly. You do need nutrients.
Right, but it
And
doesn't
yet-
help anymore.
No,
Right.
because biotin didn't cause the problem.
Right.
There was another cause.
Right.
So one of the first questionnaires that we send before our first appointment with a client is written by a brilliant doctor, and he doesn't just say, do you have this symptom? After every symptom, he gives you a whole paragraph telling you why that relates to thyroid. And so hair, skin, and nails are proteins, and your thyroid controls the way your body uses proteins. Isn't that cool to know how the two go hand in hand? Yeah, pretty cool.
What test, when you have your thyroid tested, they give you the 3.
Yes, thank you.
T3,
I'm going to talk about that.
But they never give you the T4.
Right. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. You're just ahead of me every step of the way, you guys are. So yeah, I will talk
I've been
about
around
that.
a long time.
Yeah, you've been, you know what is really fun? When I do a thyroid autoimmune talk, I get really smart people. People like you guys who have already done some research, and you've already, does anybody feel like you've been everywhere and done everything? Yes, thank you. That's the kind of people I get at a thyroid autoimmune talk. And if you keep doing what you've been doing, what kind of results are you going to get? The same stinking results. You're not getting results, otherwise you wouldn't be here. You would be out there living happy and healthy, and you wouldn't have even noticed the ad. So someone else, share with me why you're here. Does anybody look at that and think, I have all of those symptoms?
Well, I haven't read them all yet.
Yeah. I usually have several people in the room that say every single one of those symptoms. So we are going to talk about those things. What we do unique is to get rid of the cause of the problem. So we're going to get to that also. Well, okay, maybe if I turn it on, that helps. There we go. All right. I cannot summarize until I first teach you. So thank you for the whiteboard. And
Do you need markers?
I do need a marker.
There's two up there on the, they're sitting up there, there's two Sharpies on the board,
Oh, I'm sorry.
in the corner.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Excellent. Is anybody colorblind? So I've got a green one. I'll start with the black one and we'll see how that goes. So let's talk first about thyroid. I am going to talk about autoimmune, but you guys remind me, who has been diagnosed with autoimmune? Anybody? Did anybody come here looking for information about autoimmune? No? Okay, I will go through that just one sentence. Otherwise we'll focus on thyroid. Is that good? Did you guys all come here because of thyroid?
Weight gain, hot flashes, and anxiety.
Yes,
Sounds
all
like
those
what-
symptoms that sound like thyroid. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, on your paper, does everybody have a pen? Because again, participation. I hope that at the end of the night tonight, your piece of paper will look just like my board. Not because you're going to go home tomorrow and study it. You don't have to do that. I don't expect that. But because it's going to put it in a different place in your brain, you're going to you're going to absorb it better. So, number one problem that can happen with thyroid. Do you know which organ produces TSH? That is a tricky question. I warn you. The brain produces TSH. The thyroid produces T4. So, thyroid produces T4. In fact, to your point about TSH, there has never been a study proving that if you have a normal TSH, you have a fully functioning thyroid. So I'm going to give you a second to let that absorb, because that is outrageous, and it should make you mad. Like, wait a minute, what test do they run? TSH, right? And they give you what? The doctor gives you a pill based on your TSH. And yet, TSH is not proven to cause a healthy thyroid. Is that outrageous? So T4 is produced by the thyroid gland. That's one thing we want to measure. So we are going to measure TSH. You might want to start a list. We're going to measure TSH. We're going to measure T4. T4 comes down here to your liver. What's your liver's job?
Detox.
Detox, filter, exactly. Do you think your liver might be overworked? Yeah, exactly. Compared to 1 or 2 generations ago? Oh my goodness. One of your handouts gives you a list of our Facebook pages. If you go to my public figure page, Tammy Stewart, CHC, go back to February 27th. I did a great video. I'm really humble. I did a great video about generational toxicity. Toxins are passed down 4 generations. So if you think about our 4 generations, and then move that down 1 generation and think about our children's 4 generations, that's a lot more toxic. Because 4 or 5 generations ago, they didn't have the kind of toxic exposures we have. Do you know, children today are the first generation that are not expected to outlive their parents. Who knew that? Did anybody know that? That is heartbreaking to me. I'm looking straight into the sunshine, so when I look at you guys, if I don't respond appropriately to the expression on your face, it's because I can't see the expression on your face for about the next 10 minutes. Right, I see a shadow. In fact, I can't even see you because the sun's shining right in my face. So in about 5 minutes, I'll feel better about looking at you. So your liver is overworked. T4 converts to T3 in the liver. T3 is the active hormone. T3 is the what? Active hormone. So let's think about thyroid. What symptoms do we expect to see? If your thyroid's not working, what kind of things are going to happen to you? Yep, your energy and your metabolism. Those things you said, hair, skin, and nails. What else?
Thinning hair and dry skin.
Exactly. What else?
You don't sleep as well sometimes.
Exactly.
Weight gain.
Yes, your thyroid controls all of your hormones. So let's think about sleep. You have hormones that put you to sleep, hormones that keep you asleep all night, hormones that wake you up in the morning. How many of you experience all of that beautifully? You're blessed.
Right.
You're super blessed.
I have all the other symptoms.
Okay, so God protected you from one thing. He
Yeah.
said, now let you get some sleep. So, number one problem, T4 might not be converting to T3 because of the liver. When you go to your thyroid doctor, does he ever say, you might have a liver problem? That's the first test I'm going to look at. In our first appointment, you can bring me your past blood tests for me to look at. Your doctor's job is to diagnose disease, right? And to treat you based on that diagnosis, right?
My doctor didn't even tell me I had it, my pharmacist did.
Wow.
And so I'm here to learn what it is.
Yeah, what is it? Good. So you've already learned more than you knew. Good for you. You're gonna just soak it all in. Maybe you'll be spared some of the problems that other people go down, wasting time. So your doctor has to stay in that standard of treatment box. Legally, that's what he has to do. Who is responsible for your health? Exactly. Your doctor's not responsible for your health. Your doctor has to stay inside that box. So he has to run those tests and give you a diagnosis and an approved medication. So your doctor is looking for, when he runs blood tests, he's looking for a diagnostic dysfunctional range. What I want for you is a fully functioning thyroid. Who wants a fully functioning thyroid? Thank you. Yes, exactly. I am looking for you to raise your hands because I have to be sure you're staying awake. So when I look at your tests, I'm looking for I'm running different tests. I'm looking for completely different ranges than the doctor's looking for. So number one, it may be a liver problem. Number two, I'm going to take you back to high school biology, but only for a minute, I promise. And I'm going to keep it really interesting. I'm going to keep it really basic because that's how I understand it. Because I'm really not a scientist. I am going to ask you a tricky question though. Which organs in your body are made up of cells? Exactly. Good for you. Some people can't answer that question. I learned a couple of weeks ago. Excellent. Good for you. Okay. So every cell is made up, every organ is made up of cells. You've got 75 trillion cells. Every cell has 2 layers of fat on the outside. Do you want that to be good fat or bad fat? Good fat. That's a stupid question, right? We need good fat. If you look at the media and all the standard information about diets, they're going to tell you canola oil is good, canola is horrible. They're going to tell you saturated fat is bad. Some saturated fat is bad. But this cell is made up primarily saturated fat and cholesterol. So do you think you might need some healthy saturated fat? Absolutely. Because if your cell gets congested like a piece of meat wrapped in saran wrap, if you pour water on it, what happens to the water? Goes right off. So if your cell is congested, what happens to all those beautiful nutrients that you're eating? Can they get in? No. If your cell is congested, the toxins also cannot get out. So your cell becomes like a cesspool, right? Because the good stuff can't get in and the bad stuff can't get out. Second problem. Your cell has countless receptors on the outside for all of your hormones. When your cell gets inflamed, those receptors get burned out. Kind of like when you're talking on your cell phone and you lose the signal. Was it because your phone is a piece of trash? Right. What was the problem? The signal. You lost the signal. If you cut your finger, how does it feel? It hurts. Exactly, it hurts, and you don't want to use it, and a week or so later it feels better, right? That's inflammation. When your cells are inflamed, they cannot function. What if all the cells in your body are inflamed? Where might you get symptoms? That long list of symptoms that we just saw, right? So that first handout that was in your stack, if you'll take that questionnaire, and you don't even have to do it right now, but when you do it, just write down the first thing that comes to mind. Don't overanalyze it. And I'm going to give you the interpretation of that test right now. If your score is over 100, that is extreme.
That's a what?
It's extreme.
Oh.
If it's over 100. If your score is over 50, you definitely have symptoms of neurotoxicity. That's toxins in your nervous system. If your score is under 50, you're headed that direction. So that's the interpretation of the test. When I first took that test, I thought, all these symptoms, it's such a wide variety of symptoms, what do they have in common? Did any of you think that when you started looking at that questionnaire? And now you understand. This is why you get that long list of symptoms, because every organ is made up of cells. So let's think about thyroid. What if this is your T3 receptor? So that second light bulb should be going off in your head. Wow. At that point, does it matter how much T3 you have in your blood? It doesn't matter, because it can't get into the cell, right? So let's think about weight. Did you know that when you're exposed to toxins, your body adds fat cells to store the toxins? Because we agree the liver's overworked, right? So your body has to do something with those poisons so that they don't kill you. It takes the mercury, sticks it in your brain. It takes the lead, it sticks it in your bones. The average woman is exposed to over 500 chemicals every day. We say women because we wear more makeup and hair stuff than men do. 200 of them proven to cause cancer, none of them tested in combination with each other. Those are obesogens. It makes your body store fat. So your body has added fat cells to store toxins. If you started losing a lot of fat and it released all those toxins and the toxins can't get out, how are you going to feel?
Great.
Oh, you're well, I don't know. I think you're going to feel awful because the toxins can't get out. So they're just recirculating in your body, making you feel bad. So let's think about if this is your leptin receptor. Leptin is the hormone that tells your body to burn fat for fuel. And when we test people's leptin, what we find is their leptin is sky high. The body is screaming, burn fat for fuel, but the brain can't get the message because the leptin receptor is burned out. Do you think that might cause a problem with your weight loss? Right? So now you can feel good about that diet that you did that didn't give you any results. It was not your fault. It's not that you didn't have enough willpower or that you were doing the wrong diet or that you needed to try another diet. Because if your leptin receptor's burned out, is the next diet going to do you any good either? That's not. Because the problem is not the diet, the problem is the what? Exactly. The problem is the cellular inflammation. Third problem. I'm going to give you a really silly analogy. Just go with me on this. When you eat food, where is it supposed to go? Eventually. It goes in your stomach, and what happens in the stomach? It gets digested and broken down. You're supposed to have really tight junctions in your gut so that the only thing that gets through the stomach into the bloodstream are the individual nutrients, and they go all over the body in the bloodstream. But when you have inflammation in your stomach, you get those junctions get loose, you get leaky gut, and those big chunks of food can get through the wall of the gut into the bloodstream. Does the body think that's normal? No, you're not supposed to have chunks of food in your bloodstream. What might the body attack? The chunks of food, right? The foreign invader. That is what autoimmune is. Most doctors don't test for it because there's not a drug for it. By the time you get a test and it's positive, you've probably had it 10 or 20 or 30 years. And once you have one autoimmune, you have more and more and more because they have the same problem, the inflammation in the gut. Your gut is like the foundation of the building. Which walls does it affect? All of them. The gut affects the function of the whole body. So the third problem is you could have a thyroid autoimmune problem that your doctor had never tested for. So that's another test that I like to have my clients run. So the fourth problem, number 4, again, crazy, I'm going to give you crazy questions. When you get the flu, what do you feel like doing? Sleeping. Is that what you're supposed to do when you get sick? Yes, so that your body can do what? Rest and heal. So a few days, a week later, how do you feel? Better. Now remember, T3 is the active hormone, thank you. And it controls your energy. When you've got the flu, the body wants to stop the energy, so it produces a reverse T3, RT3. Reverse T3 stops the T3. So your reverse T3 is going to be high while your body heals, then your reverse T3 is going to come back down, so that you have energy. You get your energy back, you feel better, you go on about your life. What if your RT3 is high all the time? How are you going to feel? Tired. So if T3 is not working, what's going to happen to your metabolism? It's not going to work. What's going to happen to your hair, skin, and nails? What's going to happen to your sleeping hormones? Do you see? You see the connection? Does your doctor test your RT3? No, because he doesn't have a medication for it, and he has to stay in that standard of care box. So you asked, what tests do we do? What do we do differently? That's it. Those are the things we're testing. I want to test for autoimmune. I want to see your RT3 in ratio to your total T3. And yet, in addition to that, I'm using completely different ranges. But even more than that, what I want to test is your cellular inflammation. That is the cause of all of this. That's what we do that's different. So I want you to write down 3 things that cause cellular inflammation. Number 1, sugars. Do you know how long it takes grains to turn to sugar in your body? 4 seconds.
Oh.
So think about that food pyramid with 12 servings of grain at the bottom. Oh my goodness, that's gonna kill you. Aside from the fact that they're all polluted with glyphosate. So, number 1, sugars and grains. Number 2, bad fats. And we already said the media is gonna tell you that canola oil is good and saturated fat is bad. They have it backwards. If you listen to the media and do the opposite, you're gonna be better off than if you follow them. If that's all you knew.
What about
So,
coconut oil?
coconut oil is perfect. Perfect for lots of reasons. So number 1, sugars and grains. Number 2, bad fats. Number 3, toxins. 3 causes of cellular inflammation. So do you see, you could be on the perfect diet and still have dysfunction all over your body because of the toxins. So in summary, you go to your doctor and he says, all of you on this side of the room, your blood work's fine. You must be fine. And that makes you feel what? Like, I don't know, crazy?
Yeah, like you're crazy.
Yeah, like you're crazy, like you must be imagining all of it, right?
My doctor's kind of scoffed at me. Your
I'm
thyroid's fine. Look at your ranges.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All this is,
I'm sorry.
Getting
That's
older.
so frustrating, isn't it?
Mhm.
Good for you, taking responsibility for yourself and keep on looking for the answers. I'm proud of you for being here. I'm glad you didn't just give up. Good for you.
Well, I did tell saw that poster the other day.
Yes, exactly. So I'm glad you're here. So first of all, you might have a inflammation blocking all of your hormone receptors. Second, if you can't convert T4 to T3 in your liver. Third, RT3 dominance. So here's another list I want you to write down. 3 stressors that cause high RT3. Number 1, chemical, that's my specialty, chemical stressors. Number 2, physical stressors like the flu germ, or Lyme, or viruses, parasites, co-infections. Number 3, emotional stress. Have you ever been through an emotional stressor, a trauma, and you just felt tired?
Mhm.
That's normal. That's your body saying, slow down, take care of yourself, heal your heart. So 3 kinds of stressors. Now I want you to draw, well, wait a minute, let me get to number 4, let me finish that page. Number 4, autoimmune. So those are the 4 reasons that you might be on medication and still have symptoms, or you go to your doctor and he says, oh, your blood work's normal, and you still have all those symptoms. So I want you then to draw a bucket. You can draw it as elaborate or as simple as you want. I've had people make it look 3D with a handle and a spout. I'm like, wow, that's a fancy bucket. Me, I've just got a bucket. All of the toxins you've been exposed to since conception are filling up your bucket. So you've got 3 things here: chemical, physical, and emotional stressors filling up your bucket. When your bucket overflows, that's when you get symptoms. So has any of you, when you look back at your life and think about the last time you felt good, have you ever thought, you know, I felt really healthy until blank, until fill in the blank, until that thing happened, until I had my second child, until my dad died, until my brother went to the war, fill in the blank. Until that event was what made your bucket overflow. It wasn't that that's what caused all the problems, it's that your bucket's been filling since conception, and then it got full, and after that, everything just started falling apart. I'm going to skip the autoimmune slide because that's really not relevant. Yes.
I'm gonna have to leave. I have another appointment.
Thank you for
Can I
coming.
get your,
Yes. Would you give her that paper, please? And
I'm sorry.
that's
I have another
fine. That's
appointment.
fine. Not a problem at all. We're recording the talk.
Good.
And we will, if you would sign in, Heather, has everybody signed in? I need everybody's email address so that I can keep up with you guys. If you'll give us your email address, we'll send you a link so you can watch the rest of the video.
Thank you.
All right. So, the bucket theory. What exposures have been filling your bucket since conception? Toxins are the primary cause of cellular inflammation, and that's my specialty. We're going to talk about, I'm just going to briefly tell you 3 kinds of toxins. You see, I've got lots of lists of 3. Isn't that convenient? 3 kinds of toxins. Number 1, heavy metals. That's things like mercury. Anytime you've got a vaccination or an amalgam filling or contact lens solution in the 80s had mercury in it. Birth control pills in the 80s had mercury in them. Fish, of course, fish has mercury in it. Lead. Lead is what started my problem. In fact, I want to share with you my son's lead test. This son was born in 1993. He was never directly exposed to lead. And our house was built in 89. There was no lead in the pipes. We had it tested. And there was no lead in the paint. And there was no lead in the gasoline in 93. His lead, off the chart. He got that from me. He got that from 4 generations. Mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother. And then after doing cellular detox, so what we do is not a 21-day cleanse, it's not a liver cleanse or a blood cleanse, it is cellular detoxification, specifically detox from the cells in the brain. And one of your handouts is the TCD roadmap. And that's kind of the guideline that we follow, but we do it very custom, uniquely for every person. So after we had been doing cellular detox for about a year, this was his lead. So he's in the middle there. That's better. Do you think I'm satisfied with that? No. Because what do we want for our kids? The best. I want the best for him. So our story with lead started when my grandfather was working in the shipyards during World War II. Because he was exposed to lead, it was all over his clothes, and he brought it home with him. So my mother had high lead. And then we all, looking at how old, I think probably all of us, lived in the lead generation. There was lead in the paint, so it was in the dust in the house. There was lead in the pipes. We were drinking it every day, back before bottled water, and now we're drinking bottled water, so we're drinking in other kinds of toxins. So, and lead in the gasoline, it was in the air, it was in the soil, it was in the food. So we've all got lead toxicity. I had 8 metal fillings. My mother had mercury fillings. If you can see the filling in your mouth, it is an amalgam, which means combination. It is over 50% mercury. And it constantly off-gases into your brain, constantly. It is extremely toxic, but you have to get it removed from your mouth safely. If you get those fillings removed the wrong way, that's a huge mercury exposure. And it might even be better just leave them in than get them removed incorrectly. So there's a right way and a wrong way. But then after you get that out, you have to get rid of the mercury from the brain. So number 1, heavy metals. Number 2, biotoxins and co-infections. Bio means living. So for me, that was the mold in our house. Mold releases a spore which carries a toxin which we breathe. So we're breathing that toxin into our body. We had to get rid of the mold in the house. We had to detoxify that toxin from the body. Then let's think about other co-infections and biotoxins. In your gut, when there's like in the gut, there's this molecule of mercury or lead or any kind of metal. The body knows that's poison, so it builds goo around it. It's called biofilm to protect you from that toxin. All those co-infections, parasites, pathogens, Lyme, Epstein-Barr, all those things live inside that goo. It's like this beautiful invitation. Please, all of you bad bugs, please come and live here. It's a warm, cozy, dark place. It's perfect for you to live. So in order to get rid, to find balance in your gut, you have to get rid of the mercury. Otherwise, you will never kill all of those bad co-infections. and yet you have to also treat the cone fascia. So you see at this point you need a custom program. Everybody's program is a little different. So then number 3 is environmental toxins, and we already talked about that. Those are obesogens. They are endocrine disruptors. Plastics, even at very low levels, can be enough of a toxicity to interfere with thyroid function. So part of our program is teaching you how to get rid of all those things in your environment. So think about that. Getting rid of all the toxins in your environment, changing your personal care household cleaning products. At that point, I tell my clients, it's like eating an elephant. Do you know how to eat an elephant?
One bite.
Exactly, one bite at a time. And why would you take one bite after another, after another, after another? Why would you work that hard on your health? Where else? You got one body. You're worth it, right? For the rest of your life. My health is everything to me because my grandmother got Alzheimer's and I will do whatever it takes not to have that. And my kids, their memory of my father-in-law is Parkinson's, and he was literally like a bobblehead. Literally, that's what they remember about that wonderful, fabulous man. The disease robbed my children of the opportunity to know that powerful man. And for them to know my grandmother. I knew my great-grandmothers. They changed my life. My kids didn't get that with my grandmother. So it's worth everything to me. My health, I only have one. And I want to work the rest of my life. I'm gonna, yes, retire part-time and travel part-time. I wanna be healthy and enjoy my life. Isn't that what you want when you're 80? To enjoy it. Yes, or 90 or 100. Whenever God calls me home, I don't want to be sitting stuck in a chair, sick all day, every day. I'll do whatever it takes. So 3 kinds of toxins that we focus on. Cellular toxicity, we have to detox all of the cells in the body. Yes?
Back to the lead, because the way you were talking, I mean, you were saying you passed that on to your son.
Yeah.
So you go in and at a year you detox that lead out, but but if it's at a cellular, like DNA level, so when your cells replicate,
That's a great question.
aren't you replicating that same lead?
That is a great question. Your genes, your DNA, are like the light switch. Have you heard Michael J. Fox tell his story? He has Parkinson's, right?
Yeah.
He says your genes are like the bullet in the gun. When does the bullet hurt you?
Misfires or
When you pull the trigger, right?
Oh, yeah.
Your genes are like the bullet. The environmental toxins are the trigger. Cancer specialists will tell you 95% of cancer is from environmental causes, not genetics. And even if you have the cancer gene, the environmental toxins turn that gene on. But your genes are just like the light switch. My clients recover from autoimmune every single time because we remove the toxins that cause the inflammation that causes the autoimmune. We turn the bad genes off just like the light switch. And it doesn't happen quickly. The bad news is I don't have a magic pill and I don't have a quick fix. But if I did, if I claimed to have that, you should run the other way because you didn't get here overnight, right? It's logical that it's going to take some time to recover. Your body will let go of those toxins when it's safe, a little bit at a time. And your body will heal and your DNA will change, your bad genes will turn off. Thank you for asking that. That's how it goes down 4 generations. People now, think about when we were kids, did kids get cancer? No. There was maybe a couple of kids in my school that were even overweight. Generationally, we are sicker and sicker. Kids today are born with their genes turned on. I know one of my friends' nieces was born with type 1 diabetes. Isn't that outrageous? It didn't even happen to kids when we were growing up. It's outrageous. The toxins are causing inflammation, causing dysfunction all over the body. We already talked about this. We talked about your score. We talked about the roadmap. So I kind of got ahead of myself on all of that. So I promised you a solution. What we've done so far is said, number 1, the way you feel is not your fault. We've identified that this is not normal. All these symptoms you have, that's not normal. Medication is not going to fix it because it doesn't remove the cause of the problem. So number 2, when we remove the cause of the problem, I believe God designed your body to heal. That is the foundation of everything I do. Toxins cause inflammation, which causes dysfunction. So our process, Heather, if you would pass out those forms now. And I said in the beginning, I'm really selective who I agree to coach because I want results for you. And in order for you to get results, now I know I can teach you, but who has to do the work? You have to do the work. And I'm not in control of whether you're going to do the work or not. I know that when I have a client who's committed, which means you know what you want and you know why you want it. That why, that purpose is the strongest thing. When you're committed, when you invest, not just your money. You can give me all the money in the world and not do what I say, and how would you feel about having given me that money? Awful, right? Because you wouldn't get results. That's the worst place to be in. You have to invest your effort and then follow through. You're not going to be finished overnight. It's a process. Typically, our clients start to feel better very quickly. So you might start with a score of 100. And maybe after 3 months, your score on that little quiz you have right there, maybe after a few months you're at 75, and maybe after 6 months you're at 50. One of my clients started out with a score of 80. She said she would go to work, and she had 8 children, blended family. She was the primary breadwinner. She went to work, she came home, she went to bed. Because she was so tired. She was truly afraid she was going to lose her job because her brain fog was getting so bad. What kind of life is that? That's not life. Now, she recently took that questionnaire. She had 5 symptoms. That's all. 5 symptoms. And every one of them, she scored a 1. Is that outrageous? God designed the body to heal. She did the hard work. She got her life back. So in our initial appointment, we're going to do 4 tests. And my purpose in the individual appointment is twofold. Number 1, I want to get to know you. I want to find out what's causing your problems so that I can know if I can help you or not. Number 2, I'm going to look for, are we the right fit for each other? So we're doing these 4 tests. First of all, a meta-oxy test is a urine test that measures your cellular inflammation. It measures oxidation. Oxidation in your body is inflammation. On a car, oxidation is rust. Thank you. So this is measuring how much rust is in your body. It's measuring how fast you're aging. It is 50 times more accurate than a blood test at measuring cellular inflammation. This is not a test your doctor is going to do because there's not a drug for that. Second test we're going to do is a vision test. It measures inflammation in the optic nerve. So we're talking about neurotoxins, toxins that damage your central nervous system. To take this test, you first do have to be able to see 20/40. So we're not testing your visual acuity, we're testing inflammation. It will tell me if biotoxins are a problem. This is the test that my son took and he failed it. He was a senior in high school. So for him, his symptom was depression. When you're a senior in high school, what are you supposed to be thinking about?
Not depression.
Yes, fun in college and what you're going to do with the rest of your life. You're supposed to enjoy the year. He did well to get out of bed in the morning. Much less think about what he was going to do when he got out of school. It robbed him of that year of his life. And now he is equipped for the rest of his life. That inflammation in your brain can cause brain fog. Those biotoxins can cause weight gain and fatigue and respiratory symptoms. Those are the 3 huge things that to me scream biotoxins. This test for my son, I mean, I would have paid, I don't know, $10,000 because it was his life. It was worth everything. The third test we're going to do, honestly, is kind of no fun the first time you do it. I'm going to put you on the scale. We're going to measure your weight, your fat percent, no fun. We're going to measure your hydration and your cellular age. That's when it gets fun, when you come back to the next test and you're like years younger. So let me really quickly, because I think I've been talking too much tonight. Yeah, I'm really kind of out of time, but we kind of started a little late. So I want to share with you really quickly one of my clients' results. She had been working with me less than 5 months. She had lost 17 pounds. Who would like that? Would that be the coolest thing? She went from 39 to 32% body fat. Most of that was visceral fat inside around the organs. That's the worst kind of fat in your liver, in your pancreas, around your heart. Her muscle mass stayed the same. even though she had lost all that weight. That's what we want, right? More muscle and less fat. Her total body water increased from 43 to 47, which tells me the cellular congestion was going away because the water was able to get into her cells. Almost every client who comes to me, they're already so educated, they know they need to be drinking water, but they're dehydrated because of that inflammation. And she was 19 years younger in less than 5 months. That is a year a week. Wow. That's when that test is exciting, when it tells you you're getting younger. And Heather is one of my clients. So now Heather wants to drive to my office tomorrow and take the test.
Yes,
Right, Heather?
I've been waiting for the
Yes,
results on
next
that one.
time
I
you're
can't
in
wait.
my area. I have clients all over the world. Conveniently, she lives fairly close, kind of. Our office is in the Grapevine, Colleyville area, but we do business with people everywhere. So that appointment is the first step in our client application system to see if I can accept you as a client. You get one-on-one time with me. You get all those tests done. I say it's worth $5,500. Really, to me, for my son, it was everything. Our daughter was 10 years old and she was sick all the time. Okay, so Grapevine Colleyville School District. Think about your children. If they get the excessive absence letter from school every year, can they get through high school? Not successfully, right? By the time she was in middle school, she missed, actually high school, she missed 2 days in 4 years. That was life-changing. So right now, what you have that you didn't have an hour ago is you have knowledge that gives you the ability to respond. You have responsibility. Sometimes responsibility is kind of no fun because it kind of like puts the burden on your back, right? Now I have the ability to respond. I now know what my problem is and I know what I have to do about it. So now it's like I have to choose. You have the freedom to choose. And I'm back to that Mad Mama cow because I see, it's like you're in a fork in the road and you can keep doing what you've been doing. And I believe the worst pain is the pain of regret. So the first question I asked you when you came in here was, how many of you have been impacted by cancer? And all of us sat down. My dad had Parkinson's, but then he got cancer. And I promise you, if we had known then what I know now, I know things that are proven to prevent cancer. Is that outrageous? A cancer, who would like a cancer prevention strategy? My dad would have given everything if we could have had that. So you can keep doing what you've been doing and keep getting the same results, or you can choose a different path. Right now you have freedom to choose, and you have the ability that you might not have had. You can keep doing this, or when do you want to start feeling better? Now. Yesterday, right? Last month. This is one of my favorite stories. These children's mom, they had mold in their house in Virginia. This woman put her 3 children, what are they, 2, 4, and 6 years old, in an RV and came to Paris, Texas. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But she had to get rid of the mold in the house. She left her husband behind to like sell the house. So she came here to get better. And she and I worked together and she was better and better. She had 3 children. Her husband was in Virginia. She didn't care if she was having a period. She wasn't having periods. She was probably happy, right? Probably happy she wasn't having periods. We didn't focus on that. What we focused on is removing the toxins that cause the inflammation. 2 things: detoxify the cell, heal the cell. Which of her hormones started to function? What do you think? All of them, right? So she started having normal periods with no pain, purely because we removed the cause of the problem. And then I started working with all 3 of her children. That is why I get out of bed in the morning and come to work, for stories like that. And a story like that can be your story also. It happens every time. I want to be able to work with every single one of you. Our initial appointment, you have the paperwork there. Standard price for that initial appointment is $594. But because you're here tonight, because I want to make it easy for you, our special is $297. So you can write that in the green box there, $297 for you tonight. You know what? People come to me afterwards. Because for some reason we expect deals, and they say, can I have this? This is only tonight. You know what? I'm not here to play. I don't do that. I don't play that game. So don't even ask me. If you want to get well, you want to get well now, right? So make an appointment, come and see me. Then the second thing people come to me after the talk and ask me is they start asking me all their symptoms. What you need is one-on-one time with me, because every one of you is unique. You need privacy and you need quality time. So I'll be able to answer your questions in the appointment. We will send you, yes, that was my reminder. We will send you an email. It'll give you, you're gonna have homework to do. I do have an appointment available tomorrow afternoon, but be sure that you can get your homework done. You need about an hour. You're gonna have paperwork to fill out and you're gonna have videos to watch. So we will email that to you. We'll give you directions to our office. It's really tricky because it's not on the street, it's behind a little shopping center. So when you get the email, please do read the information about the directions. You are gonna need that. And I think that is the most important slide of the night. Because in order to do hard things, why? Why would you do something challenging? Because it's worth it. Because you want it. So that desire is really the most important thing for you to think about. Why do I want to invest in my health? For me, it's for my grandkids. I want to be healthy when I'm 80 or 90 or 100. That's my number one thing in life. So some of you are ready right now. You can fill out the form, take it to Heather in the back. Oh, I just realized I didn't give you the appointment cards. You can take your form to Heather. She's going to fill it out for you and tear off the bottom part. And I do have a chart up here in a minute that I'll tell you what my appointments are. I got stuck in traffic, long story. We got started late tonight, so I do have appointment cards.
Do you have the sign-in sheet? Because I just took her notepad for.
That's all I need, thank you.
Okay.
Just to have everybody sign their name. If you'll give us your email address, we don't send emails very often, and we'll just keep in touch with you. I'm constantly doing new research. A lot of my emails really are very simple little everyday eating and personal care products, little tips for health. So my final thought for you is live full, because you're worth it. And here's my appointment schedule. Tomorrow, I have one appointment available at 2 o'clock. Monday, I have 2 appointments available. Wednesday, I have 4 appointments. And Thursday, I have 2 appointments available. So on the bottom of your form, you can fill that out. You can take that to Heather in the back. So I want everybody to stand up and give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you for being here. You guys were great. You participated. I appreciate it. Who learned something?